Hello class, I am Hamed and I will be your government teacher today. My mission is pretty straightforward. I want to break down everything you need to know about the Constitution so you can walk into that exam hall feeling totally confident and ready to go. So let's get right into it. Alright, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down the basics, what the Constitution is. Then we'll get into the key types and features you absolutely have to know. After that, we hit the really important part, practicing with actual past questions from WAEC, JAMB, and NECO, and we'll wrap it all up with some of my best final tips. Ready? Let's go. Okay, first things first, we have to build a really solid foundation. So, what in the world is a constitution, and why do we call it the supreme law of the land? Think of a constitution as the ultimate rulebook for a country. It's the single, powerful collection of the most important laws and principles. It lays out how the government works, how it can use its power, and maybe most importantly, what your rights are as a citizen. And here's the crucial part. Every other law in the country has to follow what the Constitution says. That's what makes it supreme. Nothing is above it. Now, let's talk about something examiners absolutely love to ask about. Comparing different types of constitutions. So let's break down the main categories you are definitely going to see in your exam. So on one side, you've got your written and rigid constitutions. Nigeria and the USA are perfect examples. Here, the whole rule book is contained in one single official document. And because it's so important, it's rigid, which is just a fancy way of saying it's really hard to change. You need special, complicated procedures to do it. Then, on the other side, you have unwritten and flexible constitutions, like what they have in the UK. Their rules are kind of scattered across different laws, court decisions, and traditions, and changing them is much easier. It's flexible because it can be amended just like any regular old law. Pay attention to this one class, because this is a classic essay question. What does a constitution actually do? Well, as you can see, it sets up the branches of government. It protects your basic human rights, and this is a big one, it puts limits on the government's power, so they can't do whatever they want. It's the foundation for the rule of law. Alright, enough theory for now. Let's see how all this knowledge actually helps us with real WAEC questions. I want you to pay close attention to how these questions are worded. Here we go. A perfect example. The key phrase to lock on to here is special procedures to amend. Now, we just talked about this, didn't we? That difficulty, that tough process for changing the law is the exact definition of a rigid constitution. So the answer is C, no doubt. A common mistake is getting flexible and rigid mixed up. Just remember, rigid means hard, like a solid door that you can't just push open. Okay, now for a structured question from WAEC 2019. For a question like this, you can't just waffle. The examiner wants sharp, specific points. The 1960 Constitution gave us independence with a British-style parliamentary system, a two-house legislature, and a federal structure. Now, here's the trap. A lot of students mix these features up with the 1963 Constitution, which is when Nigeria became a republic. You have to be precise with your dates. And here it is, the essay question I warned you about. When they ask for functions, list them out clearly, just like you see here. You usually get 1 mark for each correct point. The key is to explain what the Constitution does, not just what it is. Please avoid the common mistake of just listing the legislature, executive, and judiciary. Those are the organs of government, not the functions of the Constitution itself. Big difference. Excellent work. Let's switch gears now and look at the JAM style of questions. These are usually multiple choice and they often require you to think fast and connect different ideas together. Okay, before we jump into the questions, this timeline is absolutely crucial. You need to get this into your head. 1960, independence, parliamentary system. 1963, we became a republic, and then the massive change in 1979 when we switched to the presidential system we know today. Understanding this sequence is vital for JAMB. Let's break this one down. The question is asking, how do the courts keep the other parts of government in line? The answer is B, judicial review. This is a really important power.
It means the courts can examine any law or any action by the government, and if it goes against the Constitution, they can strike it down and say, nope, this is null and void. It's the ultimate constitutional watchdog. You see, this is exactly why we looked at that timeline. The question is asking about the first time we got a presidential system. And if you remember our timeline, that major shift happened with the 1979 Constitution. It's a direct memory recall question, and if you study that timeline, it's an easy mark. The answer is C. This question is all about testing if you know the definition of a flexible constitution. Remember our comparison. Rigid constitutions need those special, complicated procedures, like a 2/3 vote. But flexible ones are easy to change. They can be amended by a simple majority vote, just like passing a regular old law. So the answer here is B. Alright, we're on a roll. Finally, let's take a look at the NECO style. These questions often go back to the core definitions and those key historical moments. This is a classic NECO question, straight to the point. The key phrase here is best described. I mean, sure, an amazed presidential order can be low, but a constitution is something much bigger. It is the body of fundamental laws. It's the foundation that all the other laws are built on. So the answer is clearly B. Now, this question brings up a really important word, constitutionalism. It's more than just having a constitution on paper. It's the whole idea that the government's power must be limited by that constitution. It means leaders have to follow the rules, the laid down rules, not just their own personal ideas or wishes. That's the heart of the rule of law, and that's why A is the correct answer. Okay, this NECO question digs into our pre-independence history. The Littleton Constitution of 1954 was a huge deal because it really cemented the idea of federalism in Nigeria. It gave real, significant power and autonomy to the regions. This is a specific historical fact the examiners expect you to know. And once again, be so careful not to mix up its features with other colonial constitutions like Richard's or Macpherson. Wow, we have covered so much ground today. Now, let's just boil it all down into some final super practical tips to help you walk in and ace that exam. This little table right here is your best friend. It neatly summarizes all the key differences we've been talking about. Seriously, I would pause right now and take a screenshot of this. It is the perfect revision card for the night before your exam. Written equals one document, unwritten equals many. Rigid is hard to change, flexible is easy. Simple as that. So, here are my final thoughts for you. Use those little memory tricks like rigid equals a hard door to help you remember things when you're under pressure. When you're answering essay questions, structure your points clearly. And please, please, please go over the differences between 1960, 1963, and 1979 constitutions one last time. But most importantly, take a deep breath and stay calm. You have done the work. You are ready. You've got this. I really hope this session was helpful for you. If you learned something today, please do me a favor and like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more lessons like this. And if you want to test your knowledge with thousands of extra practice questions, head over to www.examkip.com. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you in the next class.